What's good, creative fam? Brandon Washington here, and chances are you are probably a lot like me. You're someone who has to work in an office for an extended period of time, and so when you're doing that, you want to try to create an environment that allows you to be more productive, more creative, and honestly just inspires you to want to be there. And that's exactly where I was when I started building out this new desk setup. Now, like many YouTubers, I've decided to go with a sit-stand desk, and this one is actually from a company called Fazebo. Now, the thing I like most about this desk is one, it's super inexpensive. You can find it on Amazon, but it gives you a lot of perks. For starters, I really like the design of this one in particular, which I will have linked in the description along with links to everything else that I'll talk about in this video. I kind of like the fact that this one has a self-riser built into it. If you're someone who wants to have your monitor a bit higher than where your keyboard and your mouse are, this actually works out really, really well. Because of this riser, you also have built-in storage, which is nice for storing away things that you don't use very regularly, but you also have this cubby section here in the middle that allows you to access those accessories you need on a regular basis. So for example, in my cubby section here, I actually have my CF Express Type B card readers for my cameras, as well as I also have this nice little dock right here, which I use to be able to basically power this entire system. I actually went with the OWC Thunderbolt 3 Pro dock, and this allows me to have a couple Thunderbolt ports in the back, as well as some USB ports, even a 10 gigabit Ethernet port in the back. And this is literally how I'm doing most of my cable management. By having one cable go out of this dock into my computer, I am then able to then power and send data across all of these monitors and through all of my memory cards. Probably something else you notice with this desk is this ambient light. This is actually a part of the desk itself, and this can be turned on and off through the control pad directly on the desk. You can then choose between two custom set heights of your desk, as well as you do have just manual control in order to take your desk to the proper height for you. The last little bonus element that I really do like about this desk is the fact that it also does come with two hooks. So this means that you could use one for like your headphones and then another one for your backpack or your bag. And that's kind of the way that I use it. Moving on from the desk, let's take a look at these monitors. Now, just like many creators, I like to run a dual monitor setup. However, I do think that my setup is a bit unique, primarily because of the type of monitors that I decided to go with. For my first monitor, I'm running a Dell 32-inch 4K HDR monitor, and this is because this is the monitor that I primarily use to do most of my video editing. This monitor is crazy accurate when it comes to colors, and that is because it actually has a built-in calibrator in order to make sure that your colors stay perfectly calibrated on this monitor. Now, this monitor does actually come with a stand. However, I've decided to go with the VESA arm, and that is so that the monitor can sort of have this floating effect over the actual desk. This is more of a personal preference. I just kind of like the look of a VESA arm more than having a stand taking up more space on the desk. Now, while yes, the Dell 32-inch is my main monitor, I also do have a secondary monitor with the LG dual up display. Now, I have showcased this monitor in a past video. However, this monitor is super unique, and I think for anyone who likes to run dual monitors and they're typically taking a second monitor and turning it vertically, this might be a better solution. The LG monitor is a 2560 by 2880 monitor, which is a very unique pixel ratio when it comes to monitors. But the reason being is the fact that this monitor can actually take two inputs at the same time and run two different systems at once. This means that you actually end up having two 2K monitors sort of stacked on top of each other. Now, personally, I prefer to just use it as a single taller monitor, which is great for using it for like documents. I've even used it for editing. However, you'll notice with those pixel ratios that this is not a 4K monitor, and I won't say that this is the best calibrated monitor. However, using it for more tactical things is actually really good, and I'm not really using it too much for creative. When it comes to the chair that I use for my desk setup, I am actually using just a chair that I found on Amazon. It's really nothing special, but I will say that it is super comfortable. But the one thing that I do like about this chair, and really just this style of chair, is just the functionality of it. See, this chair is actually called a drafting chair, which means that it can actually go from being as low as 21 21 inches all the way up to nearly 30 inches, which means that you can actually sit in this chair and work on it regardless if your desk is in the sitting orientation or the standing orientation. And this particular chair that I have is actually really wide and it's very, very comfortable. I'll have links to it in the description. You can find it on Amazon, but it is a fantastic chair. If you're someone who likes to work at a sit-stand desk, but sometimes you want to just leave your desk in the standing setup, but you also still want to sit down, this chair will allow you to be able to sit when your desk is up or when your desk is down. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I normally like my workstation to be all set up where the entire thing is seamless and I can be my most creative self. And so that's where a couple of these extra little things have definitely come in handy, starting off with this 70-inch Samsung TV that I've added to my office. There are a lot of reasons why you would want to have a TV in your office. There's also a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. However, for me, I find that it allows me to create a vibe for my workflow. For example, one of my favorite things to do with the TV is just to go to YouTube and turn on like some rainy vibes and just have that sound as well as that big visual of rain, because it just kind of puts me in that creative state. I've also used it to just play music and have it just kind of as a background while I'm working in order to keep my mind clear and allow me to be more creative. But as a filmmaker, I've also used it as a background to some videos that I've posted here on the channel as well. And so being able to have this nice big screen in order to use it while I'm being professional, as well as just as a way to create a vibe for myself while editing, it has really come in handy. But I also believe when you work hard, you should also be able to play hard. And so this TV also gets used as my main screen when I'm playing on the PlayStation, because yes, there are times when I'm working where I just need a creative break. And so at that point, I'll normally fire up the PlayStation, put on a game, play for a little while. I typically always set a timer so that way I'll know to actually get off the game. But it's just nice sometimes to just plug in the game, kind of unplug from work for a little bit and be able to just reset my brain, because I do find that when you're working for long hours, staring at the screen constantly, sometimes you just need that creative break. Now, this next product you guys have probably already seen over my shoulders, but these are the Nanoleaf LED wall decals. And personally, these things, like, they don't do anything functionally for me, but again, they just go a long way towards kind of just creating that vibe while I am working. They work as a great ambient light while you're working, especially if you like to work sort of in the dark, and they just add just that little bit of extra light in the entire space. Now, a great benefit is that these things are very easy to install. They just work off of adhesive, and then controlling them is even easier. You just download the app and then you can do all of your controlling on the app itself. You can even have them set up to actually mirror your music, so that way they actually are vibing with you in the space. So yeah, it's just that extra little touch that I personally like having in the space, because it just allows me to just stay in that creative mindset and it inspires me to want to keep working. Having a clear mind and having a space where you can want to be creative and be inspired to keep creating, I think is super important. You know, yes, there is something to just grinding it out. However, when you are someone who has to work in a space on a consistent basis, there just makes sense to me, at least, to try to create a space that inspires you to want to keep working and a space that you actually want to go to. You know, before I had all this stuff up, it was just a bunch of gray walls, which, you know, gray walls, there are some reasons why I did that from a filmmaking standpoint, but at the same time, they're really just boring to look at. And so I wanted to create a space that I actually wanted to come into and work, and that when I just stand around and I look, it just makes me want to keep creating. Every angle I look at, I see something that is visually appealing. I want to create content in this space. And so that's the entire reason why I built out this space the way I did. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're probably a creator yourself, whether you're a photographer or a videographer. And so in that case, you should definitely check out today's video sponsor, Wirestock. Wirestock is an online platform that allows you to submit your photos and videos, and then they do the heavy lifting of taking all of that content and putting it onto all of the major stock websites. We're talking Pond5, Adobe Stock, and as well as recently they just started working with Getty Images. The benefit here is that because they are taking your content and putting it across all of the stock websites, you just sit back and you allow the money to start coming in from the money that you're making off of your stock content. Wirestock only takes a percentage of what actually sells, which means it doesn't cost you anything to get started. So if you want to start making money right now with some of the content that maybe you already have just sitting on a hard drive, definitely check out the links in the description for Wirestock so you can start making some money today. But regardless if you're a creator or not, you should definitely start looking at creating a Zen space, whether this is your actual office where you work or your home office. I do strongly recommend that it is mentally healthy for you to create a space that inspires you to want to work. But thanks so much for checking out this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.